Yeah, me too. I'm like, I guess there's no reason to be nervous. I'm not playing. I just have to like not open my mouth at an inopportune time.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
screwed. It's like,
Yeah, I have to talk more than none, so that makes me nervous.
it's just, I actually took about a month off. Actually, it's about 5 weeks off. I don't know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. When you're creating stuff, you have your YouTube channel, you have your website, you have your album that you're recording, you have your gigs, and it's the slog, right? It's the
Yeah.
keep doing this because you know it's going to pay off
Yeah.
eventually, and it plays with your head. Have you guys had a break since you started?
Only because of COVID.
Yeah.
Thank God for COVID. Let's.
Right.
It-
Hats off to COVID for making us not do gigs every month. But that was hard at the time because I was like, oh my God, we're never going to gig again. Our lives are over. Like, we could actually die. Like,
It was hard because we had just gotten a band together.
yeah.
About
March
3
of
months.
2020,
About
and we were
three-
ready to go.
3 months before, and we had booked all these gigs for the summer. You know, brand new band, didn't even know what direction we were going in, and COVID. So
Yeah.
we got the break too early.
Yeah. We haven't really taken a break since then.
Yeah, I've kind of
But-
noticed. So a little bit of background. I discovered you guys because of Jupe from Stoner Hive. He wrote that brief
yeah.
thing, and I think I had just been brought on to Doom Charts, which I never expected. It caught me totally by surprise. And I put your CD on. I remember I was in the parking lot of the state DWI authority. I'm a counselor, so I had to get certification. And I put your album on. You know, I'm in the parking lot, and then I'm driving home, and I thought it was cute, and I let it alone. Right? And then a month later, you know, the earworms start coming. I'm like, man, I need to listen to that again. So I listened from the beginning, you know, Black Magic, which we'll do a sound by sound. And I listened to a few more, and then a month later, and then I've always meant to write something on the band, and finally I went, you know what, no matter what, I just have to get this out because the album's grown on me, like, extremely. If I had to rank it for 2022, it's top 5. Simply how often I go back to it.
Yeah.
So for a first album, that for a first release, obviously this isn't your first rodeo.
No, I mean, we basically reformulated the band in 2022.
Yeah.
We've been playing with some of the same people since 2020, and we originally were more of a folk rock band because we didn't have a clear direction, and there was a flute. We did have a flute player, and through lineup changes and such, we found ourselves in 2022 where we suddenly had much more of a rock sound and decided to lean into that, wrote new material, and sort of hurriedly tried to rush and get that EP together because it was reinventing the band. So it's not our first rodeo, but it is our first
Rock.
expression that's really a lot more thought out and focused, and as in we have a direction we're trying to go in.
Yeah, when I first put together any kind of a band, I just kind of like grabbed people that I knew from like open mics and stuff. That it was kind of like an island of misfit toys approach. It was just whoever would show up to band practice and play, and you know and Beverly did, you know. So that was like, well, this is what I've got to work with. No bass player to start with at all. I could not entice a bass player to come play with us.
You weren't even really playing electric guitar.
No, I was on an acoustic guitar. Had no idea what I was doing.
Another very important thing that happened during COVID was I had a playlist that had Sabbath on there, and she had not really
I never
really listened to
Black
Sabbath for real, and that really opened up a lot. I was amazed at how much you loved it.
He had a playlist.
Love Ozzy.
Yes. Because we just, we were like trapped in our apartment just playing Diablo.
Oh, yeah.
And he had the Diablo playlist. And it's like, oh man, that song is great. The one where he's screaming for help.
Satan is coming after him.
Satan's coming after him. It's like, well, that would be the song Black Sabbath.
Oh, that's a great story. By the way, you freaked me out already. You said you had a flute player. Do you still have a flute player?
We have, the band has grown in such a direction now that the songs we have been writing just there's no way to put flute in them. And we actually just recorded 3 songs, I guess you can call that an EP, a couple of days ago, and there are no horns on that at all.
Yeah, that was the first thing we recorded without Beverly.
Yeah, and, when we made Curse of the Banshee, when we made that EP, we were in a transitional period, and we found ourselves with a rock band, and we had listened to a lot of stoner rock and doom, and there's a very large umbrella of sounds that can fit into that. And so we were like, okay, maybe we can do a little bit of the Jethro Tull and have some flute in here with some heavy rock riffs. And I think the result was really good. But as we moved on from that, we have gotten heavier in what we're trying to write. And I would say that's the biggest difference. When I listen to Blood Ceremony, I'm impressed. From the get-go, they were able to, conceive of what they wanted to sound like, and they wrote it so that it worked out that way. And we've tried to write things more that way and have not had as much success as they have. So we've gone in more of a alt-rock, I
don't want to say the blood Ceremony convinced me to give up having a flute in the band, but there was a point where I write most of the songs for the band, and every song I'd write, I'd be like, is this going to have as good a flute part as a Blood Ceremony song? And like, it just kind of got in my head a little bit. And I was like, I'm kind of like, at some point, it's not just a disservice to the song, it's a disservice to your horn player, that you're literally shoehorning them into the song. And, Beverly's such a great player that it's like, I don't know, I feel like I wasn't writing music that really was taking the best advantage of her skills anymore. And her skills, which are impressive and large.
and as we've gotten more into, as you've gotten more and more into playing electric guitar, really the dual guitar sound is really more of what we have to have room for. So So that's kind of the direction the band is going in.
Beverly is still out there, though. We have a couple of songs we want to do on the next album that one that's been in the set forever that straight up has a flute part. So we'll probably have her on the next recording for at least 1 or maybe 2 songs. So she's still out there. She's still the Reed at large.
It was an amicable.
Yeah, I mean, she was kind of like, I also don't know what to play on these new songs. She's like, I can't do like the horn. What is the song? The one Soundgarden song with the saxophone at the end. She's like, I can't do that every song.
Gosh, I should know that, but like I said, when I get on these, I'm nervous. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm so nervous I can't think of anything by name. Like, please don't ask me for 3 songs.
I know it's a bad motor finger. Right. I'll put in a snarky title in there, making fun of myself.
The Room with a Thousand Years Wide.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Nicely.
Got the crazy saxophone on it. Yeah.
Nicely done. It's just impressive.
Yeah. You'll look it up later and realize that I was wrong, probably.
All respect to Beverly. I totally get that. But yeah, her flute chanting, her flute playing was enchanting. It just, and her counter melodies, and then the sax, which we'll get to, which was just nasty as all get out.
Yeah.
So,
She worked on the nasty.
so was that EP recorded live?
No, I mean we did it in a studio.
Okay.
We the song with the saxophone, "Women for Sale," we did that in its own day. We released that as a single much earlier, and then we did the other 4 songs over the course of 3 days. So we had the benefit of punching things in.
Yeah, for sure.
Not a lot of time to work on it, but I wouldn't. It's mostly live. The drum takes are live.
Okay.
For sure.
Just I saw pictures in the studio. It looks like you have a church. I'm like, almost like Cowboy Junkies Trinity Sessions. You know, I'm imagining a single mic down and everybody in a circle. You know, hey, a guy can dream.
Right. That was a little bit more like the one that we did this time. I mean, it was Sneak Attack. It's maybe a punk church, but a church of punk.
But we
were all in the room.
Well, "Sex on a Grave," we did a cover. We did a cover song, and it is a live take.
Yeah, that is a live take.
We did 2 takes and kept the second one. No, I don't think there's any overdubs at all on that one. So it's.
And I was just kind of like scratch vocaling the vocals too.
Is this upcoming material or prior material?
Yeah.
Yes,
it's upcoming.
We recorded it this week, and we hope to be putting it out over the next 2 months.
Be sure to let me know. Be sure to let me know. I'd love to do a live reaction with you folks where I listen to the song for the first time with you on here with me. And so I do like an instant review, and it's a lot of fun.
We can do that.
And I only ask people that I'm 100% confident that it's going to roll. Okay. Bandshee, I think, is one of the more clever names that I've come up with over the years that I've seen. Is it a reference to your voice, Romana?
No. It's we were bandying around band names, and I grew up listening to the Beatles, you know, and that's a puntastic name.
We had a group message thread.
We had a group message thread.
Everybody in the band.
Yeah.
This was in December of 2019. And
I'm incapable fundamentally of saying like serious or important things in group messages.
So we were just, brainstorming, just throwing out any idea for a name, and I said I've always liked the word Banshee, like not with the D in it.
Right, like Susie and the Banshees, yeah.
And Romana wrote, "Oh, LOL, Bandshee, haha." And I was like, "That's it.
Rolling with it.
That's our band name."
I was like, "Wait,
that's our band name."
No.
Okay, I've got to make a note because you reminded me something about your guitar playing, and I'll get to it. Romana, where did you learn how to sing? Like, it's almost like church. It's almost like folk. It's like this. Like you could almost do a concert without a microphone.
I did sing. I did grow up in church choir. I also when I first started doing like open mics around like 2015. I wasn't a very good singer. I would friends would take video of me and I'd listen to it and I'd be like, oh, like just not really on pitch there, Romana. And I took vocal lessons for 2 or 3 years, and my vocal coach she still is. She is out there. But she's a chorally trained singer, so 90% of what we worked on was like diaphragm and breath support and sustaining notes, and she made me a stronger singer. And I practiced a lot. I locked myself in a basement and practiced a lot to be able to sing on pitch. It was a lot of practice. And there's, I started listening to like Iron Maiden and like that, he's awesome, And then I was listening to, there's another local band here, Blind Scryer, that I was going to see. I'm like, God, he's awesome. Like, I want to sing like Blind Scryer dude more. So I don't know. And he has a very, I think, sort of beautiful, vibratoous, sort of classical sounding voice,
That's it. That's good to know. So you did. I had a feeling you took lessons, but I wasn't sure because everything you do, whether it's on your recording, whether it's on your videos and your video channel, I'm trying to remember which one. It's vertically shot. Women for Sale. Yeah. When you're like, just get, then your pictures on Facebook are priceless. So I always thought, and that's the thing, I decide in my head how things are. And then so I try to reach out to the band and like get the actual story. But I'm still going to sell it like it's named after your vocals because
okay, yeah, sure.
They're front and center.
It's funny. My coach made me sing my original songs, like in squats, like every week. Like so, like Curse of the Bandshee, she'd put on like a track of it, and she'd make me squat through it. So like, guys, man.
So you had no balance. You had to sing literally from the diaphragm.
Yeah, you literally have to support your everything from your core in that stance while you're singing. Like you cannot cheat at all. Like you have to use your core.
Okay, that's like Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off type stuff.
Yeah, it was very. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I hated it, but I recommend it to people who are struggling to stay on pitch.
I've never seen anyone who is as good at you as studying and practicing in a real focused way. When I practice, it's chaotic and mostly useless. But you are able to study a new thing and get good at it very quickly. And I watched you do that with singing. I watched you do that with electric guitar, jazz guitar. So that's my observation, was watching her really seriously study it and get better very quickly.
That's a great segue to my next question. So, like, when I listen to Bandshee, the first thing is the vocals, the second thing is the flute, but it's the guitars that over time. And I noticed something in this interview. It's like you've done this 3 times. You both say the exact same thing at the exact same time. It just like really in sync. And the guitar playing's a lot like that. I think I compared you to like Eric Bloom from Blue Oyster Cult, which to me is the highest. I mean, nobody ever talks about him. They talk about Buck Dharma. But your guitar playing it's just amazing. And by the way, it's a drinking game out there. Whenever I say amazing, people take a shot. But where I get lost into it is when I'm hearing Steve doing his thing, and then I'm assuming that's you, Romana, on the second track with acoustic.
I think you did the acoustic tracking, didn't you? Well, no, I did the acoustic tracking for Black Magic.
Acoustic on Black Magic.
Yeah, that's me.
I think that's the only acoustic, right?
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Huh. Yeah, I guess that is me.
So, yeah, she plays rhythm guitar on Forgotten Daughter and Black Magic and Diamonds.
Diamonds.
Diamonds on the EP. Yeah, she plays guitar on all those too.
Okay. I almost wrote in my review, but I'm not sure. It doesn't sound to me like you're using a fuzz pedal like a Big Muff, that it's more of a natural overdriven sound. Am I anywhere near correct on that?
The sound on that album is I have a Mesa F50 amp, which is a very good, nice sounding amp, and I use a Boss DS1 and like a booster pedal.
So no fuzz, it's just strictly overdriven. That's what I thought, and I love that sound. Stoner Doom is all about the fuzz, but I see, honestly, a lot of reviewers and people are talking about this is the most fuzzed out thing I've heard, and it's like, no, that's not fuzz, that's straight overdrive. I love the cleanness of that. I love that we can actually hear the guitar. Who are some of your influences? Because I said you were a mutant combination of Martin Barre, Eric Bloom, and I think someone else.
I wouldn't say that those are directly influences, although it's interesting that you chose them as references, because what I've been going for is I call it metal adjacent.
Right.
It's I'm almost playing metal, but not quite. And when you listen to the bands from the 70s, that's what was happening. Of course, Sabbath was ahead of its time, but then you had every other variant of, Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Jethro Tull, Blue Oyster Cult, Judas Priest. You can listen to the first 3 Judas Priest albums and listen to them go more and more metal until they are defining modern metal, And that's kind of that's the music I sort of like the best and find the most interesting to play, and probably what I'm the best at. It's a little more blues based. So as far as influences, really, of course, Sabbath. Oddly, Django Reinhardt harmonically, just for note selection, studying some gypsy jazz has really helped me with the minor key sort of swing that is really an element in Black Sabbath that people don't really recognize, I think. And Tony Iommi was big into Django Reinhardt too. So it's the swing of it and the minor jazziness, I guess, is part of it. So
Plus, correct,
that's kind of where from.
correct me if I'm wrong, Django only had 2 fingers, right?
Right.
Yeah, functional, yeah.
His other 2 fingers he could use for chords a little, but as
Yeah.
far as his leads, he only had 2 functional fingers.
He could kind of hold down those 2 bottom strings a little bit with the pinky and ring, but he did his stuff with his smoking fingers.
And usually when, I've seen the interviews where Iommi talks about how someone recommended Django to him because he had a hand injury. And that's usually what the interview sort of focuses on. But if you actually learn the music, of course, an acoustic jazz, you wouldn't think it relates to Black Sabbath, but the music, the feel of it and the note selection actually applies
You can hear it.
very directly. Like I hear the influence.
I studied
early Black Sabbath.
Django stuff with a really good jazz guitarist, and later I was putting on the albums, and like, this feels strangely familiar. I can't quite put my finger on why it reminds me of the Django stuff, but it definitely does. Like, I wasn't intelligent enough to speak about it so eloquently, but I was like, that sounds kind of like a swing song, and it would be like something off of Paranoid,
Well, not to blow smoke, but I think intelligence is being able to recognize it. Practice is being able to describe it. So don't put your intelligence down.
I was okay. Thank you.
Hey,
I appreciate it. I need that.
I've been bubbling my way through this whole thing for the past year, so that's the excuse. I can hear it. I'm just not practiced enough to be able to say it.
Yeah. Develop your vocabulary so that you can talk about it.
It takes a while. Eventually, I'll be J.J. Coxon from the Obelisk or Steve Howe from Mala. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna muddle through. You've been gigging, I think, fairly regularly and fairly heavily.
As much as we can, yeah.
Even throughout 2020, we played as much as we could, and for a while there was just live streams mostly. We took 2 to 4 months, I think, where we didn't play at all, and that would have been like November to 2020 to February 2021. And we really hibernated for real.
Yeah.
But other than that, we've tried to play as regularly as we can, regardless of what is open or closed, or
Question, and this will seem weird. How many of those had like 10 or less people in the audience?
Tons.
Lots.
Lots of them, yeah.
Yeah, lots.
My experience is those are the ones where you really learn how to become a pro. Because when you have 200 people, it's easy to get into it. I saw a band here in Raleigh called Lie Heavy. The Singers with the Skull, which is kind of the the Trouble tribute band. He also used to sing with a little band called Corrosion of Conformity. So Keith Agel. So I'm the only guy in the room, and I've got my little camera, and he's bantering with me. 4 other people come into the room, and they hit go like it was 200 people. It absolutely blew me away, because at the end, I think we had 20 people in there. Those are the 20 people that saw a band that they'll never forget.
Yeah.
So the playing to the empty room is probably more. It's a bitch, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's you gotta, at that point, like, you gotta kind of make it fun. It's you could be sour about it and like, no one came to see my show, or you could play your heart out for the 5 people who were there and have a great time and hug. I still. One of my favorite stage lines when there's less than 10 people. One of my favorite stage lines I've stolen from John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants. People will come out and be like, I'd like to thank every member of the audience individually. And at their shows, it's hilarious because it's sold out, right? But when you have less than 10 people, you can't actually go around and be like, Emma, thank you. Like, you just make it. Some people could look at an empty room and 5 people in the audience as something awful, but you can make it awesome. You're there, you're playing.
Yeah.
Did you get to play a show? Then it was a good show.
That's how we get our chops in.
Yeah, and there's no better way to learn how to be on stage than to be on stage.
Now, have you been mostly playing around your local area, or have you started to branch out to different markets?
We've been playing Lexington and Cincinnati, which are the 2 closest cities to here, even since 2021. So we've been trying to play regularly there as early as we could. And then this summer, we've actually begun to branch out a little more. We did a really tiny tour. We went up to Philly in June.
You went up to where?
Philadelphia.
Oh, Philly. I thought you said Findlay. I'm like, the Ohio circuit. How was Philly?
Well, we did go through. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It was
a dirty house show.
It was
great.
Dank. It was amazing. Yeah, it was dank how I like my IPAs, and we were ticketed immediately. So I was like,
we got a parking ticket.
We got immediately upon arrival. Because the people at the venue were mistaken about when the
meters become free.
They were wrong. So we were immediately ticketed. We slept. We played and then slept in a dank house venue that was awesome and full of people the whole night, with these like real wild punk band people, but like a 15-minute set, and they played like 10 songs.
Like 10 minutes set.
10 minutes set, okay? Yeah. And then we had cheesesteak. It was awesome. Like, it was fun. I will say though, the real party started when we got to Harrisburg.
Okay.
Harrisburg was unexpectedly lit.
They go hard in Harrisburg. We stepped out of the metal venue at like 1 a.m. into the rave that the whole city had become.
It was spilling out onto the street.
Yeah. It was awesome.
So,
I love tour stories.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I mean,
it was really a good way to a good beginning to that for us, because we had, in a very short period of time, I felt like we had like sort of the full range of, we had the dirty house venue. Yeah. One of our shows was in a laundromat.
Yeah.
Laundromat venue.
Yes. We got there and they were like, well, there was a mosh pit here last night.
Yeah, the wall was like knocked out.
They moshed through the wall. But don't worry, we've got these lovely flat sheets.
Do you have any of that on video? Did you like take pictures of the place? And
there's some pictures. I don't know if we've got any video. We've got like little snippets of video. I don't know that we have video of Dirty Dungarees was the laundromat.
I don't know if we have anything there.
No, we got some pictures, but it was great. There were signs up that said report cult activity. Cult activity is not great, but it was definitely there was a vibe and a flavor to every place we went.
Yeah.
And it was great. I had a ball. It was the time of my life.
That's awesome. What kind of vehicle? I mean, did the vehicle break down at any point? I don't want to curse
Our vehicle is solid. We have tentatively nicknamed it Foo Bandshee. We bought it from a friend of Romana's, and he's in a local band called Bad Wires that's has toured around a lot. He got a nicer, better van.
He upgraded his Ford Econoline to another newer Ford Econoline.
He actually cut us a little bit of a deal because he wanted his van to go to a band that would tour in it.
Keep touring. And I kept finding like his old like defunct band stickers like stuck down in the door handles. Like, Megazilla.
Hopefully,
Band is great.
Yeah. Hopefully that's all you find stuff down in the.
Yeah, I know. I was cleaning out this van and I was like, if I find anything that has been forgotten here that should have been smoked, I will be very mad. But it was all just empty cigarette wrappers, really, and the stickers.
Excellent.
They smoked all the Marlboros. They smoked them dry.
So I assume you're handling your own producer duties. Do you do your own production?
Yes.
Yes, thus far, yeah.
And that's actually our focus now is turning to, we want to make an LP and really make a good one.
Yeah.
we had more lineup changes at the beginning of this year, so we've just now gotten everything settled again, and we have some of the songs written. We've been actually planning this LP for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So the recording we just did was we want to put out something in the interim.
Yeah.
But
well,
then
we kind of planned this longer, bigger work
over the winter. That's what our focus is really going to be, is recording this LP. And we the engineer where we recorded this week, he knows someone who's interested in actually producing it for us. And he's not a big name or anything, but he's a sort of a professor type, a very artsy type that I think would put a lot of passion into it. So that's something I've always wanted to do, is an album that has a producer and that you can really take time and try to polish it. And so someone who will be like, this guitar part is not good enough. You need to you gotta rewrite that. Something, I'd like to try to.
I can't count how many good bands are out there that would be absolutely great if they had a producer that went, do it again. Nah, do it again. Nah, do it. Yeah. I'm not talking Bob Rock and turning you into, some sort of commercial pablum, but somebody who can really. Are you going to stay self-released, or are you trying to shop for labels?
We definitely want to shop for a label too. Yeah. That's part of why we want to really up the quality as much as we can.
Make something more polished to show that we're capable of doing it.
We feel like that we're in a position now, and we have the experience to really put together something that's above anything else we've done.
Any particular labels that you have in mind?
I've got a list. I don't want to say them out loud because I don't want to jinx myself.
Yeah, I kind of want to get you to say them out loud in case they're watching.
Yeah. I mean, there's always like, you have like your pipe dream labels that like, they'd probably immediately say no, and then you have your more realistic ones. But like, the pipe dream label would be, I don't know, probably the label that has Blood Ceremony ultimately and Witchcraft would rise above, And that's like they're not going to sign us, but that would be cool, have like a label like that, or like, a lot of the labels I've seen that are not local to us, I'm not saying specifically like somebody like Heavy Psych Sounds, but like a label kind of like them, or I have a whole list, and now I'm drawing a blank because I'm nervous.
Like, I get an average of like 3 or 4 unsolicited submissions just to me, and I'm a small dude. With Doom Charts, I'm getting right around 300 to 500 a month.
I think that's how I found you, was on that giant list
Yeah.
of them, from the Doom charts
Yeah.
list of all, because I went through the whole. I was probably sending download codes to dead people, you know, because because I wanted to get the EP out there, so, and I had no idea how, but
Yeah.
when you Google Doom, Doom charts is SEO pretty good, you know.
Yeah. I've had this conversation. I've had a label on the channel, which you might want to, if you haven't seen it, I've got Todd from King Volume for about an hour talking. And that's really the focus of this channel is newly emerging bands, what process they go through. And then, if I can, I'm not going to say matchmaking, but I look at myself as like a AAA baseball scout, where I show interest and then maybe somebody bigger does.
Yeah.
But I know that I think the biggest mistake I've seen bands make, and this is after talking to Todd Severin from Ripple, Todd from King Volume. I'm also in touch with Tommy from Black Doomba Records, who's definitely an up and coming. And then Dune Alter and a couple others, is a lot of times bands wait until the album is done and then they shop for the label, where at that point it's almost too late. Like they'll have the recording up on Bandcamp, then they decide they want to put it on vinyl, and then they shop for the label. And
it's already released, right?
You want to be thinking ahead, probably 6 months to a year. Yeah, but it's hard for a band. It's so competitive out there.
Yeah.
And for every band I write about, there's 300 more. I've brought on 2 more writers. We still can't keep up. There are about 60 to 70 people on Doom charts. We can't keep up.
Yeah.
But I do think that you're a cut above, and I can't wait to hear your new stuff. It's seriously addictive. The guitar playing, and I can tell you right now why you had a hard time finding a bass player. Why is that? They would actually have to know chords, chord progressions, arpeggios, probably 1 or 2 modes, key signatures, and because you don't lend yourself. You need someone, listen to me, but almost with a bluegrass-based background that can actually follow those progressions that you have, because they ain't easy unless they want to go boom, 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 which doesn't fit your music at all.
Right.
Yeah, we are lucky we found a bass player that is...
that kind of sounds like Mac, really. Yeah. I mean, he kind of has that background.
He likes Tool. It's like
weirdly accurate.
He's also played in string bands.
Yeah.
So
he's been in string bands and likes Tool and punk and folk and went to school for music.
He's into getting mathy a little bit.
Yeah. His eyes light up when you start talking about the intervals.
Playing some weird riffs.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's something about I tried to do some improv bluegrass. Well, I'm a bass player, and it was just over my head. I couldn't keep up. I needed to do running bass lines, and that's what you guys have done. Do you mind if we talk a little bit about the EP from almost a year ago?
Yeah.
So, again, it was cute when I listened to it the first time, and because I knew Blood Ceremony was coming out with their newest, and then it grew on me over time. And the more I look at it, like Black Magic is kind of, if you listen to it on the surface, it's kind of, it's cute, but no, that was like a really smart choice for the first song. So how much thought went into the arrangement of where you put the songs?
Like the tracks?
Yeah.
Well, my friends, if you look closely, you'll notice they're in alphabetical
Oh, you did not.
but we.
No, that's a coincidence.
That's a coincidence. We noticed that afterwards.
Don't blow it, man.
I put them, made a playlist with the tracks and just listened to them in basically every different order and tried to just imagine, how does it start? How does one song go into the next?
We thought Black Magic was a good one to start with because of the intro too. Like it kind of sets the tone a little bit, the way that song starts.
Yeah, and since the purpose of the EP was to sort of restart the band in a way, we felt that song in particular was a good intro to what the band had become, what we were trying to make it into.
On your video for this, on your YouTube channel, what's your YouTube channel?
Oh, I think it's the actual handle is Stoned Ghost, but it's Bandshee. I don't know how I came up with Stoned Ghost, but it's awesome. But
that's a great album name.
Right?
Is that the exact same version on the video that's on the EP?
I think it is. I pulled the WAV file, but it went through Canva Pro because I put that video together in Canva Pro.
Okay.
It should be the same.
So it's the same.
Should be the same version.
It's the same version of the song. It might sound different because when things are processed through Canva Pro, and it does tend to kind of, I don't know if flattening out the track
compress it.
So it does. The audio to me does sound a little different, but it should be the same track itself. Yeah.
So you come out the gate with Black Magic. So that's the most, I don't know, generic. It's the most predictable that, an occult retro band is going to do something. But
right, yeah.
But
that was the whole point. Was like, we got to write a song about black magic because everybody else has one.
And then it goes into such unexpected directions. And you've got these like augmented and unresolved chords, and then Romana, you're singing Ghost, and it's like, okay, it starts out it just kind of sucks us in, if you want to put something out in the background, and then you're like, wait, did I just hear that? So good choice. Curse of the Banshee, that has to be like we're closing, you've got a hot crowd, you're ready for the last show, and that last song, is that at the end of the show now? Because it's great.
Yeah.
We actually do. That is our closer.
That's our closer, yeah.
That's our closer.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it when I'm accidentally right. I'm like a broken
Nailed
clock.
it, buddy.
2 times a day I'm going to be right, so that was the rest of the day is doomed. Diamonds in Our Prime is my favorite song.
Oh, wow.
Not by a long shot. There's my other one. I love Diamonds in Our Prime. Your video, is that stock family footage or is that personal?
Yes, that is stock. Again, it's all from Canva Pro. I have like a Canva Pro account and pay for the licensing or whatever. But yeah, that is all like open source, just old stock footage that has been uploaded to that program. And I got stuck one night. Canva's dangerous. It's like a creator's black hole, because like you just click one video and that's cool, and then it shows you all these other, and it's like snippets, it's like a 20-second snippet, and you're like, oh, that's so like visually fascinating. Like, what are all the other related ones? And I must have spent hours just looking at all this old stock footage on Canva for no other reason than it was cool. And I thought this would be really interesting to put to Diamonds and see, the dynamic between that sort of like that old, very idealistic 50s, it was a better time, against kind of the relatively dark themes of Diamonds. Because kind of the thesis of that song is that, we're always worthy, we're always worthwhile people, as people. And you should always see yourself as being, it's maybe not at the top of your game, but like today should be the best day of your life because it's the one that's happening right now, right? And you shouldn't let people victimize you. And so I was trying to kind of put those old videos from this kind of highly idealized time in American history against that sort of lyrical theme, and then sort of against the sonically dark guitars.
Really well done. And like I said, that's my favorite one. That if I'm driving down the road or I'm taking a shower or whatever, that song, especially the refrain, it just seems really kind of nostalgic without being Bob Seger, nostalgic. And like you're really talking to someone in that song. So.
Yeah. That song, it's autobiographical lyrically. Those things actually happened. Myself and several other female musicians in the community were kind of, not being high-key stalked, but low-key stalked and kind of low-key harassed by this guy who would kind of work his way into ingratiate himself to your bandmates and your social circles, and then kind of start presenting himself as like your second, And he kept doing this to he would pick these women that seemed kind of like strong, kind of very individual. There's one girl that's a virtuosic, flamenco rock guitarist, and he followed her around. And then one of this amazing upright bass player from a string band who runs open mics, who followed her. And it kind of came to me by turn. And I was talking about it with my friend Colleen about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that guy," and like we'd all kind of been stalked by this guy, and nobody had said or done anything, until finally Stephen and another person kind of ran him off one night from a gig that I was playing at this bar with this other band. So that song came out of like it's conversational because it is based on a conversation that happened that we had about the kind of a shared trauma of all the female musicians in that community. So I laugh about it now.
I think that's one of your best songs, and that is really dark material. Like in a lot of ways, that's
being stalked and feeling like no one believes you or will do anything about it. It's pretty dark.
The impending sense of danger and fear it's a lot more real than like, oh, haha, here's a song about the devil.
Yeah,
whatever.
Right.
There's
magic here tonight.
And even though that was originally all acoustic that she wrote that, and that's
I wrote it on an acoustic baritone guitar.
Surprisingly lent itself to being much more of a rock song and kind of a heavy rock song. So that's actually one that has survived from the very early days of us being in a band. From
the acoustic band. That's the only acoustic song
we still have.
Yeah.
Once we turned it into a rocker.
Yeah.
But it's the songwriting itself is really solid. Your riff, like your intro riff, is really cool. It's a really good song.
Yay! So I didn't read too much into it. It's just a great song that could have come from, I'm not making it generic. It's like, that's a really high level song that would be pretty high in someone's catalog. So nicely done on that one. That song more than any other, I think, well, not true. We'll get to the one that really brings me in. Forgotten Daughter.
So the bass player on most of the EP actually ended up being the engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, that is our sound engineer, Jason Gross.
We went in to record the EP, and we had a bass player, and that didn't work out for him to do the EP with us. And the engineer is a great guy. Took pity on us. He is a bass player primarily, as like that's his musician role that he has done. So he played on his own time, played bass for us, and so there wasn't really a lot of conversation. The bass playing is fantastic.
Yeah,
that he did.
It is.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that like a potential disaster had turned out so well.
So what happened to Z?
Z was with us briefly.
She's not on. Yeah, she joined the band even after that.
The EP. So we had a different bass player who came with us to the EP, and then
at the beginning of this year,
work out.
Yeah, we put together another band to try to play live and tour and such. And then
after the EP, and that's when
there was that personnel changed over yet again, and now we have the lineup that we have now.
Yeah.
And we just recorded with our new rhythm section.
So if you count Jason Groves, the sound engineer who recorded the bass for most of Curse of the Banshee, I think we've had 5 bass players in 2 years.
That sounds about right. A lot of the bands that I love, they don't even bother with the bass player anymore. They're like, we're done. Telekinetic, Yeti, Dope Scum. A few others. And the bass players now, they're forming their own band without a guitarist. So
yeah, we had this wild show we played a few months back with Yezer, and Yezer comes out with 2 bass players, and we come out with 0 bass players. And I'm like, there's the exact right number of bass players in this lineup. They're just all in one band.
You just swap some personnel around here.
It's like there's a little
I'll trade you.
A little discontent now between the real musicians and the guitarists, so it's good to.
No.
Yeah, I did not say that with a straight face. Okay, Women for Sale.
Yeah.
Did you write that?
Yeah. That is, again, an autobiographical song.
Oh, my God. What a story.
No. So we were in a surf band together back in ye olden pre-COVID times, and it was a great band. It was a fun band. But we played this car show every year, and the car show was great. I love old cars. I love cars. I'm not very educated about cars, but I just love going and looking at old cars. But in the middle of our set, every year, they would stop our set so that they could have a pinup girl competition.
Beauty pageant,
pinup girl. And they would parade these girls across stage. And basically, here's this girl, she's got this and that doctorate and this and that, and she's 5'3" and blah, blah, blah. And she's this dress and her curls are done by so-and-so, and give her money. And they'd have these girls, they'd parade them across the stage, and then they'd have these buckets and go around and make people put dollars in their buckets.
That was how they picked the winner. That's how you voted, was you literally put money
in the girl's bucket. This fully grown adult woman's
Whoever's bucket had the most money got all the money from all the buckets.
Yeah. And it was winner takes all, too. And I would be sitting over here, the only girl in a surf band over here, watching all the other girls who are at this event being dressed up and paraded and weirdly auctioned,
selling themselves.
And everybody viewed it as kind of harmless fun, I guess. But I just had this, it made me feel so weird. I just felt so weird.
I thought it was gross and weird. But.
I couldn't stop thinking. I went home that day and wrote quite a bit of that song, and a kind of just a dumb little a blues riff to kind of play under it. And I mean, there was a lot more verses to that song than the ones that wound up in the final version. He went and cut the kind of the weaker ones out and edited it down, and wrote the riffs in it.
Yeah, the weird 5 riff is all me.
That's all him. And he was like, here it is, you can double it. And I'm like, no.
She's like, I'm just not going to play on that one.
I'm just not going to play. I'm just going to play You got this.
It's probably the most horrific song on the album when you think of all the stuff. So you start out with Black Magic, and then Curse of the Banshee, which is good, fun stuff. Diamonds on Our Prime, Shit Gets Real, right? Forgotten Daughter, similar theme, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And then Women for Sale is just, I've been watching Deadwood lately. And every time I watch Deadwood, your song just every time they're showing any of the girls, that song gets stuck in my head. So.
Oh no, that's the intention. Oh no.
Really,
that's exactly right.
Really effectively done. And then you chose to do the video in this. It starts out with the video game, and then it's all vertical, and then you have 2 versions of yourself. one's kind of pantomiming, the other one's kind of singing, and then
That's all the vision and genius of Nick Beach, the drummer that recorded the song and the EP with us. He came to us at practice one night. He was like, "Yo, dogs, check it out. I got this idea."
He directed the video.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm going to direct it. I'm going to film it. We're going to make it vertical so that the Gen Z kids can watch it on TikTok or whatever, and it's going to be great." Right? And he did it. He paid a guy to edit it together under his direction, and we showed it. We filmed it in his apartment. You know,
it turned out way cooler than I thought it was going to turn out.
Oh, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
I thought it. I totally and utterly believed in his vision. So
It shows, and I love it. And by the way, it's not getting nearly enough views, so hopefully, your videos are excellent. You're saying you did all those videos?
My phone is about to die.
oh no.
Yeah, we're about out of time. We're gonna have to do part 2.